Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 23rd of April and let's get started with the newspaper analysis. Okay guys, every class we start with the GS quotation and today we are going to take quotation from Swami Vivekanand. So Swami Vivekanand says that there is no chance of welfare of the world unless condition of women is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on one wing. So as bird cannot fly on one wing, in same way, society cannot develop if only one gender or only one sex is empowered. So women empowerment is a sine qua non. Women empowerment is indispensable for overall development, holistic development of a society. You can use this particular quotation in GS paper number 1, issues related to women, social issues. Also, this particular quotation can be used in essay. Okay, so women as a theme has been there many number of a times in essay. So there also you can use this particular quotation. Moving on, guys, and let's start with the newspaper analysis discussion for today. So first article that we are going to take is Resorting Earth's Right to Good Health. Now, guys, also if you are new, you can download these notes from our Telegram channel. Link is given in description box. Now, basically, guys, if you remember, we have already seen yesterday, that is a 22nd of April. 22nd of April, it was it is commemorated as Mother Earth Day. It was commemorated as Mother Earth Day. Okay, and on that particular dimension, this article is written. Yesterday also there were a couple of articles that we have seen. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, environment and related issues, as well as GS paper number 2, rights and related issues. We'll be seeing this particular article. So let's get started with the article. Now, this particular article, guys, talks about a particular case study. And I just want you that you please, guys, note down these case studies that are there and they can be used in a very good way in your mains answers. So what happened? So recently, European Court of Human Rights, they have held Switzerland government as guilty. Why they have held Switzerland government as guilty? They have said that government has failed to reduce the emissions, and as government failed to curb the emissions, you have violated the rights of senior citizens, as well as you have violated the rights of women in particularly. So basically two things have happened here. Number one, European Court of Human Rights have recognized that there are certain sections of a society which are more vulnerable because of the climate change. And in this capacity, we see that senior citizens, because of their advanced age, and women, because of their gender, they are far more vulnerable because of the climate change. And also what has happened, environmental rights, they are being recognized as a basic human right. So now, to have clean water, to have clean air, to have clean environment, it is being interpreted as your basic human right, which is non-negotiable. Guys, understand a few things. That, see, there is United Nation Declaration of Human Rights 1948. Now, India is also signatory of this particular UN Declaration of Human Rights, by the way. And this particular declaration recognizes the human rights, and they have been recognized as natural and inalienable. Natural and inalienable. Natural means that they are given to you, they are bestowed on you by the virtue of you being a human. Because you are a human, you have to have that, and they are inalienable. No state can take them away. So, human rights, fine, they are the indispensable rights. And now, right to clean environment, right to clean right to clean air, right to clean water, they are being interpreted as a human right, which is a quite a good development in this particular direction. Now, so this is one of your case study that you can write. Then, guys, one more case study you can take from India also. So recently, Supreme Court of India, when it was hearing the case with respect to the conservation of Great Indian Bustard, which is a Rajasthan's state bird, Supreme Court observed this particular thing, that right to be free from adverse impacts of climate change. or right to get protected from the climate change. It is fundamental right under the domain of Article 14 and Article 21. So basically now the right to clean environment is being recognized as a fundamental right, which are the most supreme rights recognized by the Constitution of India. So case study 1, case study 2. Fine. So we see that there is a kind of a systemic, dynamic, or you can say tectonic change that is coming. Now, why this recognition is important? Why this recognition is important? It is important because impacts of climate change are becoming really adverse. And here we have some reference also. So here we have global climate report. This global climate report is released by World Meteorological Organization, and this report observes that 2023 was the hottest year since we started recording the global temperature. And 2023 because 2023 happens to be the hottest year, it will have many negative implications. For example, as these temperature are rising, it will lead to blue ocean event. Blue ocean event. Now, what is blue ocean event? Blue ocean event refers to a phenomena when the Arctic will become ice free. When the Arctic will become ice free, it will lead to many catastrophic changes. What catastrophic changes? Number one change that it will lead to, that sea level will rise. Sea level will rise. Moreover, when the temperature of water rises, now see, when the water is in the form of ice, it's a compact. But when this particular water will melt, it will undergo thermal expansion. It will undergo thermal expansion. And according to World Meteorological Organization, 50% of the sea level rise that will happen, it will be because of the thermal expansion, as the water will expand. So this blue ocean event, it will be triggered by high temperatures. Also, also it will lead to the submergence of coastal regions. Okay, it will lead to submergence of coastal regions. Fine. This increasing temperature, it will lead to negative impacts on the weather phenomena around the world. So many of these problems will be there because of the temperature that is increasing. And by the way, you'll find that 24 data, when it will come, will say 24 is the hottest year. If 25 data will come, we'll say 25 is the hottest year. Point is that every year we are breaching the temperature records. This is a very big concern. And in the mid of this, recognizing environmental right as human right is very important. Now, moving on, guys, when we talk about India, India has played an important role in the aspect of achieving its climate targets. Now, under Paris, under Paris Agreement of 2015, India undertook 3 INDC, intended nationally determined contribution. These are the goals that India will achieve. Now, out of the 3 INDCs, 2 INDCs India has already achieved, which is a good thing. Now, you see this thing that we said that we will reduce the emission intensity by 33 to 30. Sorry, guys, actually, not feeling good from 2 days. Okay. So, INDC targets, we have achieved two of the INDC targets out of three already. First is that we said that we'll reduce the emission intensity of our GDP by 33 to 35%. Okay, compared to 2005 level. So 33 to 35% emission reduction was to be done. We already achieved it. Secondly, we said that 40% of our installed power will come from renewables, will come from non-fossil. Already this has also been achieved. And in fact, right now 41% of installed electricity capacity of India is from renewables. Okay, so we have achieved it. And what we have done, we have also decoupled emission from economic growth. Now, guys, these are the kind of words that you should use. These kind of lines you should use while you are writing answer. Decoupling emission from economic growth. What it means? When traditionally an economy goes up, its emissions also increase. And we have seen proportionately, as growth will come, you'll pollute more. But India has broken this connection. India has decoupled it. Means we are growing, but our emissions are not growing at the same level. We are growing, but our emissions are not growing at the, our emissions are not growing at the same level. Okay. So this is something that India has done. Now, basically, as we talk about this Supreme Court judgment that has come in the case of India, it paves the way for legal accountability of climate action. Now, as you have a right to get protected against the negative impact of climate change. So you can approach the court if government is showing apathy, is government if government is not taking any action on this particular direction. This is something, and it will bring changes on demand as well as supply side. Now, what do we mean by the changes will come at demand and supply side? So basically on demand side, basically people will invoke a right based approach. People will demand the rights, people will demand protection against climate change. And on the supply side, government, private sector, civil societies, they will come out with more policies, they will come out with more laws which recognize the right against climate change. So this is a kind of a very good blend that has been created. So demand of more sensitive environmental laws will be there, and government will also provide more and more such frameworks, legislation. Civil societies will come out with the solutions as how the climate change and fundamental rights are to be integrated with each other. This is about it. Now, moving on, if we talk about, guys, if we talk about India, I told you, has taken some good steps, and in this particular capacity, there is the localization model of sustainable development goals, SDG. So when we talk about sustainable developmental goals, they were adopted in 2015. They are 17 sustainable developmental goals. These 17 sustainable developmental goals, they are further subdivided in 169 targets. And India and the countries which have adopted the sustainable developmental goals, they will be achieved by 2030. Guys, one thing, that the period of 2000 to 2015 was the period of Millennium Development Goals. Now there were the 8 Millennium Development Goals. They are for largely for developing country. But 2015 to 2030, this is Sustainable Developmental Goals. And Sustainable Development Goals are 17, and they are to be followed by both developed as well as developing country. Now, what we have done, we have come out with the localization model of Sustainable Development Goals. Means that we will uh, we will modify sustainable developmental goals for the India in Indian context. So what is happening? So we are localizing the sustainable developmental goals as per our pace as well as our understanding. Also, states and union territories, they are making their own SDG roadmaps, that how they can achieve a particular SDG, and they are tracking their achievement on SDGs regularly. So this is a very good case study that, see, understand this thing, that in governance we often use one particular, there are few words that we use, and please write them down also if you don't know. There is one size fit all, approach, and then there is custom tailored approach. Custom tailored approach. Now, always we say that good governance is one where we accept this custom tailored approach. One size fit all approach is never appreciated in governance, is never appreciated in any kind of a developmental policy. Now, SDG goals, there are 17 SDG goals. Okay. Now, basically, in order to ensure that we achieve them, we have come out with a custom tailored approach. Okay. States, union territories, okay, they are being, now see, understand this thing, that taking goals is very good, but you also need to first understand your capacity. Okay. So keeping in your mind the capacity, states and union territories are coming out with their own roadmaps to achieve the sustainable development goals. Fine. I hope you are able to understand. So this is something that has happened. So this is one good approach. Then second, basically, what we can focus on interministerial and intersectoral approaches. Now, let's understand this particular thing. So basically, there is One Health initiative. This is an example. What is One Health initiative? What is One Health initiative? Okay. So basically, idea of One Health is very simple. And the idea of One Health says this thing, that, see, idea of One Health says this thing, that, see, there are three components that we have. Okay. See, this is human health, this is animal health, and this is environmental health. Okay. So idea of One Health simply provides this particular thing, that you cannot treat these three components separately. Now One Health comes here. One Health comes here. What the idea of One Health means? Idea of One Health simply provides this thing, that see, we all the time talk about preserving the human health. We all the time talk about preserving the human health. But human health cannot be preserved until and unless animal health is preserved, until and unless environmental health is preserved. So you have to preserve all three together. You have to preserve all three together. And in between here, where the focus on all the three components health is given, this is something what the One Health concept means. Now, after pandemic, we have started focusing on One Health. We have started focusing on One Health. And on the One Health, 13 ministries and departments have come together. This is an example of interministerial and intersectoral convergence approach. Okay, please note down these particular keywords. So this is an example of interministerial and intersectoral convergence approach. Okay, so this is something that is to be emphasized even with respect to the climate change that is there. So even for the climate, we need to focus on this interministerial and intersectoral convergence approach. Fine, guys, understand this thing. I'll advise you that please always either download PDF or make notes in that, or whatever way you use. Please ensure that you are taking the notes out of it, because otherwise you'll forget. The next is that, see what has happened. Court has recognized fundamental right against the adverse impact of climate change. Now, what can be done? Court's observation can be used by the citizen groups, can be used by the NGOs to foster more right-based dialogue on environment, to bring this particular matter up for discussion. Okay, and in fact, there is one more case study that we have here. The Madras High Court in 2022, what they did, in one of a case, they declared Mother Nature as a living being. Mother Nature as a living being, which can, Nature as a living being, so that she has her own rights. So this is something that has happened. Fine, guys, just give me a 10 seconds break. Okay, guys. So let's get started again. Fine. So this article we have already discussed. Now moving to next article, political space for disability rights, a silver of hope. A sliver of hope. Now this article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. Within social justice, vulnerable section of society, and within vulnerable section of society, issues related to disabled people. Issues related to disabled people. Okay, so this will be the focus of this particular article. Let's get started with this particular article. Before going in the details of this particular article, there are few things that I would just like to talk on the people with respect to disability. Okay, and earlier also I have discussed it. If you remember it from the previous discussions, very good. If you remember it from the previous discussions, very good. Otherwise, just a minute. Otherwise, please see it now. So when we talk about the disabled people, understand this particular thing. There are two aspects here. One is medical model of disability. One is medical model of disability, and the other is social model of disability. Other is the social model of disability. Now, when we talk about medical model of disability, it recognizes disability as a medical condition, a biological condition. But when we talk about the social model of disability, social model of disability recognizes disability as a medical as well as a social condition. Because of bodily limitation of a person will face discrimination, barriers in the society. Okay, so this is the social model of disability. Now, when we talk about India, guys, you see this particular thing that we have 1995 Rights of Person with Disabilities Act. Okay, Right of Person with Disabilities Act. Sorry. Fine. So we have Right of Person with Disabilities Act 1995. Now, this particular law was largely based on the medical model of disability. It was based on the medical model of disability. But what happened over the past few years, we have agreed to many international conventions and international frameworks. For example, number one, what happened? Bivaco Millennium Framework. Bivaco Millennium Framework was agreed by India in 2002. Then what happened? United Nation Convention on Rights of Person with Disabilities. United Nation Convention on Right of Person with Disabilities. We agreed to this particular convention in 2008. Then what happened? Incheon Strategy. Incheon Strategy. Okay, Incheon Strategy talks about making an inclusive and barrier-free society. Okay, and then fourthly, what happened? What happened? Sustainable development goals are there. Okay, India's Rights of Person with Disabilities Act 2016 was there. 2016 was there. Now, this particular act, that is Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016, this particular act actually recognizes the social model of disability. Social model of disability. Why it recognizes social model of disability? Because all these frameworks that we have discussed, they are based on the social model of disability, and because India has agreed them. India amended India amended its 1995 Disability Act and came with it actually repealed this act and came with the new act, that is Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. So we have moved from medical model to social model of disability. Okay, just keep these particular things in your mind. Fine. Moving on. Now, moving in this particular direction, political space for disability rights. Now, what has happened recently, as manifesto was released by the Congress and CPI. So, Congress and CPI both have provided that they are going to include disability as a ground for discrimination under Article 15 and Article 16. So if you remember Article 15 and Article 16, it talks about the right to equality. Okay. But within this Article 15 and Article 16, the ground of disability specifically is not mentioned. But they say that will recognize ground of disability under discrimination, Article 15 and Article 16. Now, this is a very good start which has been shown by them. Now, when we talk about Article 15, it is always required that a constitutional amendment should be done in Article 15 and disability should be recognized as a is to be recognized as a ground for discrimination, that it should not happen. Now, basically, in 2019 also, UN Committee on Right of Person with Disabilities, UN Committee on Right of Person with Disabilities recognized that countries need to amend their constitution, and disability as a ground of discrimination, it is to be against that. Protection is to be provided within the constitution itself. So within Article 15 and Article 16 we should amend it, and even UN Committee on Right of Person with Disabilities has recognized it. Fine. Now, I already told you that India ratified United Nations Convention on Right of Person with Disabilities. Okay, but up till now amendment has not been made to Article 15. Amendment has not been made on Article 15. Now, within this particular act, that is Right of Person with Disabilities Act, Section 3 provides that no person with disability shall be discriminated. But we need a far more protection, and that far more protection will be provided by amending the Article 15. Now, you see, in the past, many new grounds have been entertained under Article 15. For example, Supreme Court, now it in Navtej Singh Johar case, Supreme Court recognizes that one's sexual orientation can be a ground of discrimination, and the sexual orientation has also been recognized under Article 15. Now, what is this Navtej Singh Johar case? Navtej Singh Johar case was the landmark judgment in which Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality, in which Supreme Court decriminalized Section 377 of IPC. fine, in 2018. So here Supreme Court recognized that sexual orientation of a person can be a ground on which a person can be discriminated. So it was recognized under Article 15. So in the same way, disability is to be recognized, but we don't want that disability should be recognized as an implicit right. As an implicit right, we want that it should be mentioned specifically as an explicit right by amending the constitution. So this is something that has been provided, and it is provided that basically CPI and Congress in their manifesto, they talked about including disability as a ground in Article 15, and it is because of the advocacy done by civil societies. In this capacity, National Center for Promotion of Employment for Disabled People and National Disability Network, they have launched they have launched the demands. So this is also a good example that how civil societies can influence government and can nudge them to discuss the issues related to vulnerable section of society. So this can be a very good start, guys, and please mention this as a case study. Please mention this as a case study in your answers. So this is, guys, all about it. And now moving to next article. A lesson from Taiwan in quake resilience. So guys, recently April 2024, there was an earthquake that came in Taiwan, but that earthquake did not brought any major disaster. And by this, we can learn that how Taiwan has how Taiwan has carried systemic reforms over the past few years, which have made them disaster resilient. Disaster resilient. Okay, this article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 3, disaster management. GS paper 3, disaster management. Now, so basically, guys, you know this particular thing. You know this particular thing that we have. If you simply suppose this is Earth, if you take away all vegetation, all topsoil that is on the Earth, if you make this Earth bare, you'll find the surface of Earth, lithosphere, it is broken in plates. It is broken in plates. These plates are called as tectonic plates. Tectonic plates. Now these tectonic plates, they largely form three type of boundaries with each other. Okay, one is convergent boundary. One is convergent boundary. So convergent boundary is when the two plates are colliding with each other. Two plates are colliding with each other. Then there can be divergent plate boundary. Divergent plate boundary. Divergent plate boundary is when two plates are pulling apart. When two plates are pulling apart. And then there are transform. There is when the two plates are just rubbing against each other. Okay, one plate is going like this, one plate is going like this. Now, when we see that, see, these boundary interactions, these plate interactions, they release immense energy. They release immense energy. Okay. Usually we see that around these transform boundaries and convergent boundary, there is a lot of earthquake activities that is there. A lot of earthquake activities that is there. Okay. Now, when you talk about divergent plate boundaries are more associated with volcanism. Okay, now we see this particular thing that when we talk about the Taiwan, guys, so basically you understand the location of Taiwan. So basically there is a Philippine Sea plate which is moving northward towards the Eurasian plate, Okay, so Taiwan is located at this place where the now Taiwan, when we talk about it, is located at a convergent boundary. So where two plates are converging, which two plates? Philippine plate and Eurasian plate. Okay, so where they are converging, Taiwan is located, and because of that, Taiwan gets large number of earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes they do come in Taiwan. Now, 1999 Chi earthquake had a magnitude of 7.7. It occurred in Taiwan, and in that more than 2430 people they died. Okay, and around 10,000 plus these people they got injured. But recently 2024 earthquake came and it caused minimal damage. It caused minimal damage compared to 1999 earthquake, which is a very good thing. Okay, now you need to understand that why this has happened. So basically, guys, there is a very powerful quotation which says that every adversity is an opportunity to learn. Okay, every adversity is the opportunity to learn. So what Taiwan did, Taiwan took that particular quotation very seriously. And what they did, 1999 earthquake, they used it as a wake-up call to bring deep seated changes. What they did, they brought critical administrative reforms. Number one, they improved emergency response and they improved emergency response. What they did, they passed the Disaster Prevention and Protection Act. Okay, and under this Disaster Prevention and Protection Act, a lot of reforms were taken. National Center to handle earthquake coordination. So two national centers to handle earthquake coordination and trainings, they were established. Okay. Also, what has happened now? First what they did, they brought legislative reforms. On the basis of legislative reform, they brought institutional reforms. Fine. So these are two national centers to handle earthquakes, they were developed. And then finally, what they did, they also worked on citizens education. Now, what they have done, they have they have carried campaigns, drills on earthquake safety. Now, basically, suppose there is an earthquake, you need to protect yourself. You just go under the table, under the bed, so that some heavy object doesn't falls on you. Okay, so what type of behaviors, what type of action should be taken during the time of an earthquake? Don't use the lift, all such things. Fine, they educated people. Because of that, the fatality reduced. Also, what they did, they invested heavily in earthquake monitoring as well as in early warning system, and they have used these early warning systems to give prior information to people with respect to earthquake. Also, government, what they do, they update the earthquake safety requirements, and in the building codes from time to time, they issue advisory as what safety precautions should be taken by the buildings in an event of earthquake. Moreover, what they have done, basically, even in Taiwan, they have done microzonation. Now, some areas will have intense seismic activities, some areas might not have that intense seismic activities. Okay, so basically, on the dependence of that how much severe earthquake can strike, they issue different building codes for the different areas. Okay, so what they do, they plan specific seismic codes for different areas, and construction has to be carried as per these seismic codes. Because of that, they have designed much safer buildings. Now, guys, here just I want to give you one example of TAPI 101 building. Now, this TAPI 101 building, now this is a skyscraper, one of the most iconic skyscraper of Taiwan, and it escaped damage during this latest earthquake. So let's understand this design of TAPI 101. Okay. Now, see, this is TAPI 101. Okay. This is TAPI 101. Now, if we talk about this particular building, guys, so basically, you find that this particular building has a kind of a huge steel ball which is suspending in between, like a pendulum. Okay, so basically this is the actual photograph of this particular 660-ton steel ball, which is called as mass damper. Now, how this particular thing operates? So basically guys, you see this particular thing, that this particular massive steel ball is there. Yes. So basically, you can see that this massive steel ball is there. And this particular ball, it is suspended with steel wires. And when earthquake will come and this particular building will shake, okay, when earthquake will come and this particular building will shake, so this particular ball, it will go in opposite direction and will stabilize this particular building, Okay, so this is a genius engineering marvel they have used here. Fine. So this is the technology due to which this particular TAPI building, TAPI 101, it got survived. And such innovative thinking is needed even in the building construction designs in India. We also need such things. Now, when we talk about India, India is going through infrastructural expansion, Char Dham project, and many such projects we are taking up in the different and many infrastructure expansion projects we are taking up. But when we talk about India's infrastructure projects, they always have these particular things that we are not giving a good regard to environment, and all such things are there. So what we need to do, we need to ensure that during when we are taking up infrastructure projects, particularly in ecological sensitive areas such as Himalayas. Earthquake safety, environmental conservation needs to be given a fair regard. Also, all the infrastructure projects in India, they should comply with seismic safety regulation. Also, what we need to do, we can learn from the Taiwan that we need to, number one, design seismic codes specific to the area, specific areas, depending on that how much vulnerable it is to earthquake. We need to construct safer engineered structures. We need to enforce and ensure that they are being complied also, because the compliance and implementation rate in India is very much poor. Now we have Indian Code IAS 1893. Indian Code IAS 1893. It specifies the seismic designs which buildings have to adopt depending on the seismic zone in which they are located. So they should be implemented immediately. So this is a good example. This is a good article, and the case study of Taiwan, IP 101 we have discussed. Guys, the point is that the key of getting triple digit marks in UPSC is that you have to substantiate your answers with as many case studies as possible, as many examples as possible. So do that particular thing. Now, what are the rules around star campaigners? We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, polity and related issues. Okay, star campaigners. So recently, Aam Aadmi Party has nominated the wife of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal as the star campaigner. Fine. So, so let's understand that what is the star campaigner, the rules around the star campaigner status, all such things. Now see, who are the star campaigners? Star campaigners can be celebrities. Star campaigners can be uh, uh, iconic political leaders of a party. Now, these star campaigners, they are actually the top leaders of a political party or sometimes celebrities. Now, understand this particular thing. According to Representation of People Act, a national or state party can appoint 40 star campaigners and a registered unrecognized party can appoint a maximum of 20 star campaigners. Now, why these star campaigners are appointed and what is the benefit of appointing the star campaigner? Basically, understand this particular thing that under the Representation of People Act, there is an expenditure limit. Expenditure limit. Now, one candidate in the case of a Lok Sabha constituency. So, Lok Sabha constituency in larger state, maximum a candidate that can spend is 95 lakh rupees. But in the smaller states, maximum a candidate can spend 75 lakh rupees. Now, traveling, air travel is very much expensive. Air travel is very much expensive. Now, star campaigners, when they are traveling to a particular location and are basically campaigning for the political party, expenditure incurred on their travel will not be counted in the expenditure limit that has been imposed, that I told you, 95 and 75 lakh rupees. So expenditure incurred by the leaders of a political parties, which are the star campaigners, by air, by any other means, fine, shall not be deemed to be the part of election expenditure of a candidate. Okay, so their expenditures are exempted from getting counted in the limit that has been imposed. So this is the star campaigners perks. But there are certain conditions that you need to understand. So if in any rally meeting, the star campaigner seeks vote in the name of a specific candidate. Okay. So basically, if the star campaigner seeks vote in the name of a specific candidate, okay, that okay, vote for Mr. XYZ, then or if the star campaigner shares a dais podium with some of a specific candidate, then that particular then in that case the expenditure will be counted. In that case, expenditure will be counted. Secondly, if the star campaigners is boarding, lodging, staying in the hotel, those expenditures will be counted. Only air and travel expenditures will not be counted. Moreover, if star campaigner and the political candidate are traveling together, if a candidate is traveling with the star campaigner, then 50% of the travel expenditure will be counted in the limit of this. 50% of the expenditure will be counted in the limit of this candidate. So this is something that has happened here. Now, guys, moving on in this particular capacity, Representation of People Act, Representation of People Act provides this particular thing that political parties, they are the one who can appoint or can revoke a star campaigner. Now, sometimes we have seen that star campaigners, they involve in hate speech, they make many inflammatory statements. So it's recommended that under Article 324 of the Constitution, Election Commission, which is the highest authority to conduct election, should be given more power, that they should be able to revoke the status of a star campaigner if they are going against the model code of conduct. So this is, guys, all about this. Now, I hope you've understood it. Now, moving to next article. Supreme Court allows termination of pregnancy of minor rape survival. Now, basically, guys, here two things we need to understand. One is Supreme Court has used Article 142 of the Constitution to do complete justice. Now, Article 142, it gives exemplary powers, it gives plenary powers to Supreme Court. Under Article 142, Supreme Court can issue any order, they can issue any decree in order to do complete justice. Any order they can issue, any decree they can issue to do complete justice. Okay. So now question comes that why Supreme Court has to use Article 142 in order to allow this women to terminate the pregnancy, Now for that you need to understand Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Now under Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, a women can abort pregnancy up till 20 weeks on the basis of advice of one registered medical practitioner, and they can abort pregnancy till 24 weeks on the basis of advice of two registered medical practitioner. Upper limit to abort pregnancy is 24 weeks. 24 weeks. Even after that, state medical board can be constituted if the women want to abort the pregnancy. Now, in this particular case, what happened? A minor girl who was who had the pregnancy of 30 weeks, she approached Supreme Court. Now, upper limit is 24 weeks. After 24 weeks, only state medical board can take the call. Okay, so law provides for 24 weeks as an upper limit. She approached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court used Article 142 and allowed her to abort the pregnancy. So, these are certain things that you need to understand. Now, moving on, and accused in criminal cases won more seats in 17th Lok Sabha. So, with respect to GS paper number 2, criminalization of politics, GS paper number 2, criminalization of politics, you can see this particular article. Now, what has happened here? Let's understand this. So basically, recently a report was published by ADR, that is Association of Democratic Reforms. Now, according to this particular ADR report, it's provided that basically we find that winnability of criminal candidates is more. Now, first of all, when we talk about the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, out of 514 elected members, 44% had criminal cases pending against them. 44% had criminal cases pending against them. Okay. Now, if we talk about the 2024 elections, up till now, phase 1 and phase 2, so it has been provided that out of 2810 candidates that were there in both phase 1 and phase 2, 18% had criminal cases against them and 12% candidates had serious criminal cases. Okay, so more and more people, candidates with criminal cases, they are contesting election and actually they are winning also. Final data that how much criminal candidates we got in the present Lok Sabha, that will come after election has concluded. But more candidates contest elections from criminal backgrounds and also they win. 44% of candidates won the elections. Okay, so this is, guys, about it. Fine. Again, can be used as a case study. So this is all about it, and with this we come to an end. With this we come to an end to the today's analysis. I hope, guys, that you have understood it. I hope you have understood it. So this is for today. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, guys. And thank you so much. Also, I say this in every of my class also, that as now the weather is changing, you need to be extra careful, because these times when the weather transitions summer to winter or winter to summer, okay, is the one when you catch a lot of flus and all such thing. So please take care of yourselves, guys, because the time is very important for everyone, but even more important for UPSC aspirants. Fine. Thank you.